The rain hammered against the windshield of Sarah's sleek BMW as she pulled into the hospital parking lot, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. Inside the emergency room, her 7-year-old daughter Emma lay fighting for her life after a severe allergic reaction had sent her into anaphylactic shock during a birthday party. Sarah had arrived at the hospital an hour ago, only to discover that Emma needed a rare blood-type transfusion immediately, and the hospital's blood bank was critically low. The doctors had given her a devastating choice: find a donor with AB-negative blood within the next 2 hours, or watch her daughter's organs begin to fail. Sarah had posted desperate pleas on every social media platform, called everyone she knew, and now stood in the parking lot making one last call to a blood donation center across town, begging them to send emergency supplies. But the roads were flooded, traffic was gridlocked, and time was slipping through her fingers like sand. If you believe in the power of kindness, in second chances, and in the extraordinary compassion that exists in ordinary people, please take a moment right now to like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share more stories that remind us of the good in humanity. Now let's continue with Sarah's desperate race against time. As Sarah ended yet another fruitless call, she noticed an old, battered Honda Civic pulling into the spot next to her. The car looked like it had seen better days decades ago. Rust ate away at the fenders, one headlight was held in place with duct tape, and the exhaust pipe coughed out dark smoke. A man stepped out, probably in his mid-40s, wearing faded jeans and a worn flannel shirt with paint stains splattered across it. His work boots were scuffed and muddy, and his weathered face suggested a life of hard labor under the sun. Sarah caught herself staring, and immediately felt a flash of judgment pass through her mind. She wondered what someone driving such a decrepit vehicle was doing at this hospital. Probably couldn't even afford proper health care, she thought with an involuntary sneer. Then she caught herself, ashamed at her own prejudice, especially at a moment when her world was falling apart. The man seemed to sense her gaze and offered a gentle nod before heading toward the hospital entrance. Sarah turned away, diving back into her phone, frantically searching for any solution to save her daughter. She called the local news stations, hoping someone would broadcast an emergency appeal. She texted every parent from Emma's school. She even considered posting on neighborhood forums, though she knew the chances of finding someone with such a rare blood type were infinitesimal. The doctors had told her that only about 1% of the population had AB-negative blood, and finding a match in this small town within 2 hours felt like searching for a needle in an ocean. 20 minutes passed in agonizing slow motion. Sarah's phone buzzed with sympathetic messages, but no real solutions. She leaned her head against the steering wheel, feeling the weight of helplessness crushing her chest. This couldn't be happening. Just this morning, Emma had been laughing at breakfast, excited about her best friend's birthday party, her blonde pigtails bouncing as she danced around the kitchen. Now that same little girl lay unconscious in a hospital bed, her small body fighting a battle it might not win. Sarah was about to head back inside when she saw the man in the flannel shirt emerge from the hospital entrance. He walked with purpose toward his old Honda, and to her surprise he glanced in her direction with an expression of deep concern. Then he did something unexpected. He approached her car window and gently tapped on the glass. Sarah hesitated, her big city instincts making her wary, but something in his kind eyes made her lower the window a few inches. The man spoke softly, his voice rough but warm, like weathered leather. He told her that he had been inside registering for a routine checkup when he overheard the nurses at the desk talking urgently about a desperate emergency case, a little girl who needed AB-negative blood immediately. He explained that he knew this blood type well because he had it himself, and he had been a regular blood donor for over 20 years. He said he had already spoken to the doctors, and they had confirmed he was a match. He had given his consent to donate immediately, and the medical team was preparing the transfusion room right now. Sarah's world stopped spinning. She stared at this stranger, this man she had judged so harshly just moments ago based on nothing more than the car he drove, and she felt tears streaming down her face. She tried to speak, to thank him, but the words caught in her throat, tangled with guilt and gratitude and overwhelming relief. The man simply smiled, a sad, understanding smile, and told her it was going to be okay. He said he had a daughter once too, and he understood what she was going through. But then he said something that made Sarah's heart stop. He told her he needed to show her something in his trunk, something that might help her understand why he was here, why he still drove this old car, and why he would always, always help a child in need. Sarah stepped out of her car, her legs weak, and followed him to the back of his Honda. The trunk was held shut with a bungee cord, and when he opened it, Sarah gasped. Inside, carefully organized in plastic bins, were dozens and dozens of children's toys. There were stuffed animals, board games, art supplies, books, puzzles, and small wrapped presents. There were also stacks of children's clothing, neatly folded and sorted by size. In one corner sat a framed photograph of a beautiful little girl with bright eyes and a radiant smile, probably around 8 or 9 years old. The man's hands trembled slightly as he picked up the photograph and showed it to Sarah. He told her about his daughter, Lily, who had passed away 5 years ago from leukemia. He explained that during her treatment, they had spent countless hours in hospitals, and he had watched his little girl suffer through procedures and pain that no child should ever endure. But he had also witnessed incredible acts of kindness from strangers, people who donated blood, who brought toys to the children's ward, who simply offered a smile or a kind word during the darkest moments. After Lily died, he made a promise to her memory. He would spend the rest of his life paying forward that kindness. He worked as a house painter, barely making enough to get by, but every spare dollar went into this trunk. He visited hospitals, shelters, and foster homes, distributing toys and supplies to children who needed a moment of joy in their difficult lives. The old car, he explained with a sad smile, was all he could afford, but it was enough. It got him where he needed to go. Sarah fell to her knees right there in the parking lot, sobbing uncontrollably. This man, this beautiful soul whom she had dismissed with a single glance, was about to save her daughter's life. He wasn't wealthy. He didn't drive a fancy car. He didn't wear expensive clothes. But he possessed something far more valuable than anything money could buy. He had a heart overflowing with compassion, forged in the fires of unimaginable loss and transformed into something luminous and giving. The man helped Sarah to her feet and gently closed the trunk. He told her they should head inside because Emma was waiting, and he wanted to meet the little girl whose life he was about to help save. As they walked together through the hospital doors, Sarah realized that her entire perspective had shifted in the span of 30 minutes. She had spent so much of her life judging people by their exteriors, by their possessions, by the superficial markers of success, and she had almost missed seeing the most extraordinary person she had ever met. The transfusion went smoothly. Within an hour, Emma's vital signs began to stabilize. By evening, her eyes fluttered open, and she asked for her mother in a weak but beautiful voice. Sarah held her daughter close, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling the steady beat of her heart, and she knew that this moment was a gift from a stranger who had every reason to be bitter, and closed off but had instead chosen to transform his pain into purpose. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you to look beyond the surface and see the humanity in everyone you meet, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, and leave a comment below telling us about a time when someone's kindness changed your life. Your engagement helps these important stories reach more people. Before we end, I want to ask you to do something special. In the comments below, write the word kindness if you believe that compassion can change the world. Let's fill this comment section with that beautiful word. 3 months later, Sarah stood in her driveway looking at her BMW and made a decision. She sold the car and bought something more practical, donating a substantial portion of the difference to the children's hospital in Lily's name. She also started volunteering at the pediatric ward every week, bringing art supplies and spending time with sick children, reading them stories and helping them forget their pain, even if just for a moment. She had learned the most important lesson of her life from a man in an old Honda Civic, that true wealth isn't measured by what you own, but by what you give, and that the most beautiful souls often come in the most unexpected packages. And every time she saw Emma laugh and play, and live the childhood that Lily never got to finish, Sarah whispered a prayer of gratitude for the angel who had judged her daughter worthy of saving, even when Sarah herself had been so quick to judge him.